and they wonder why American dubbing is, or just English dubbing, or Western dubbing, is not so popular anymore. Not so popular. Netflix localizers rewrite Blue Box. English script sees character complimented for being feminist instead of being feminine, because nowadays you can't be feminine. You can't be feminine. You can't. And the character Hina, you want to know who she's voiced by? Huge shocker. Kaylee Mills. Yes, Kaylee, you know, that Kaylee Mills who's currently doing that whole striking thing, Hoyoverse, and going after Jacob Takanashi because he filled the role of Kanichi after the previous dude just pretty much left it. Yeah, her. This is why you don't put activists in charge. Because not only is she voicing, I think she's also got a place in the team who are working on the show. This is why you don't hire activists. In the latest case of English language localizers overriding a Japanese creator's original creative vision, Netflix's in-house team has edited a bit of dialogue, and it's not going to be the first one. This is just one that has been possibly in like episode 1 or some bull crap. Guarantee you there's going to be more, because there always is. It's never just one isolated incident. Dialogue in Blue Box. To have someone who was originally complimented for having a feminine perspective, instead receives praise for being feminist. And no, the two are not the same. They're not the same. Having a feminine perspective and having a feminist perspective are not the same thing. They're not the same. Written and illustrated by I love you, my teacher. The freaking names. I was reincarnated as a slime. You know, just, or I'm in love with my sister or something. Just they have the weirdest names for the mangas. Koji Miura. Blue Box is a slice-of-life rom-com centering on the day-to-day activities of Ime High School, high school badminton player Taiki Inomata, who, after spending ages pining for senior basketball play. Well, they did say, I mean, that's usually what happens. It's, oh, they're so cool. I just want them to notice me, senpai. Basketball player Chatsu Kano finds his world turned upside. His parents leave for an extended business trip. That's always how it starts. And she ends up moving into his parents' house. You know, because extended business trip totally means that the house is vacant now, and just move on in. Just move on in. But I mean, this is an anime, or rather, it was a manga. So, in late 2024, the series began to receive an anime adaptation from TMS Entertainment and Telecom Animation Film. Its English dubbing rights eventually secured by Netflix. Right then and there, you already know. You already know. To this end, with the release of the first season's second half on April 18th, English language fans discovered a particularly odd change made to a bit of dialogue in the series' 16th episode, Unfair Woman. Therein, with preparations for the school's culture festival, like, that's also another thing. Like, this is just how Japan it is. It's just, you know, I can think of several other anime that have culture festivals in them. Culture festival find themselves in full swing. Taiki's childhood friend, Hina Imamoto, can be seen struggling to rehearse her lines for the lead role in Class 1B's upcoming rendition of... There's a joke in there somewhere. There's a joke in there. In both anime and manga, After taking notice of her frustrations, her friend Kashara uh, steps in to help, proceeding to recite the forgotten dialogue and admit that while he doesn't particularly care for acting, he was still able to got it memorized the lines simply by listening to Hina repeat them over and over. That's usually how it goes. Impressed by his skills, Hina suggests Kyo should have gone out for the role in the class play, only for her friend to promptly decline. Explaining his aversion to the stage, Kyo admits that he's no good at cheesy romance like that. You're in one. As while he can sympathize with the heroine being struck by misfortune and hardship, he can't abide by her just up and marrying some random prince. Miura's original manga, Kyo's reflection, is met with an acknowledgement from Hina. That's a surprisingly feminine perspective. Her further aside of, I thought the love aspect was going to interest you, implying that she was taken aback by his romantic view of the situation. However, in Netflix's English dub script, and here you go, you've got Hina, Haley Mills. I know, shocker. In Netflix's English dub script, Hina instead observes, that's very feminist, thus implying that Kyo's take was based more on gender equality than concept of romance. Interestingly, while the English subtitles for the Japanese track were originally consistent with the manga, it appears that they have since been updated and now bear the feminist rewrite. Which is kind of odd, because if anyone watches anime, that when you have like the Japanese the text on, it's completely different. Completely different. Even if you're listening to it in English and you've got the Japanese subtitles on, completely different. But the fact is that they changed or the English subtitles in this case. Interesting, while the subtitles for the Japanese track were originally consistent with the manga. Yeah, so what was consistent with the manga was the Japanese. But instead, it's like, nope. Not on our watch. As of writing, neither Netflix, TMS Entertainment, Shueisha, nor Miura herself have issued a comment addressing the line change. Further, it's currently unknown which specific individuals worked on the script. Doesn't really matter. It's Netflix. Two, it's got people like Kaylee Mills working there. It's not hard to imagine that they've got a bunch of activists basically work. So it doesn't really matter who did it. The fact is, someone clearly did it, and it's not going to be the first one either. It never is. Sadly, this is far from the first time Netflix has made such an ideological, motivated edit to a piece of Japanese media, having made similar changes to scripts in Tiger and Bunny, One Piece, and even Godzilla -1. This is why I pirate anime. I want these people jobless and unemployed. If you still trust Netflix these days, that's on you. You don't get to complain that their stuff is woke if you keep giving them money. Yellow Flash. Very good localizers. Keep giving us fans every reason to sail the high seas. Yeah. Don't worry, AI will replace them. But VSI did hire a political activist as a voice director, so there was a red flag. And Kaylee Mills was caught bullying an English-speaking voice actor from Japan. That's Jacob Takanashi. So gee. And these people wonder why others are so tired of Western dubbed media. Because this is because Now, changing lines is one thing if it's like a Japanese joke that no one's going to understand, then you change it. Or you do the whole 4 kids treatment where, oh, well, we don't want these kids to be confused by Japanese culture, so we'll change the jokes, but keep some in for some reason. But like, these aren't rice balls, they're jelly-filled donuts. Stuff like that. But there was no reason to change the line from, that's very, we get it right. Change the line from, that's a surprisingly feminine perspective to, that's very feminist. That's surprising. Yeah. There's no reason. There's no reason. It's not going to get caught up in translation. It's not going to confuse people. They're doing this because they're activists. Because this is who they're hiring. And of course, it's the media. The media consists of mostly left-wing activists. So, I mean, it's not surprising, given also that it's Netflix as well. But they can't even say, oh, well, translation hard. No, there's no translation issue here. There's no translation issue. They're not sitting there racking their brain about, oh, what do we change this to? Because it's clearly Japanese in nature, and it doesn't translate well into English. No. And this is just going to be one example. There's always more, but because the show is still fairly new. But this is why people can't stand Western dubbing anymore, because this is what they do. They're not in it for any other reason apart from just pushing their BS. And people like Kaylee Mills, every time you see her name attached to something, you know that there's going to be some kind of activist bullshit every single time. Again, this is the same person who went after Jacob Takanashi, while also just a few years ago, hey Jacob, I do a lot of things and I know Japanese and I would love to be part of one of your projects. And then she's attacking the guy because he filled a role that was vacated. So they're nothing but activists, and that is one reason why everything, games, movies, TV shows, you name it, that is why it's going downhill in the West, because of people like Kaylee Mills, Netflix being filled with freaking activists. Every level of the company is just filled with activists. It doesn't really matter who. Again, if it was a thing that needed to be changed, due to cultural differences or something like that, that's understandable. Then you can change it to whatever. Again, 4 kids. Nothing beats a jelly-filled donut. Those are clearly rice balls, but sure. But kids may look at it like, what's that stuff? I don't get it. What's going on? Or like all the weird stuff that Team Rocket did with the the dress ups, with the cheering and that's not something we understand here in the West. But Japan, it makes perfect sense. So they had to change things. But there was nothing about this that needed to be changed. It was just like the with the Dragon Kobayashi, with the patriarchy and all that other crap. There's no need for it. So the original line was perfectly fine, and it wasn't going to be mistranslated or anything. They did it on purpose because they can't help themselves. They're activists first, and voice actors, voice directors, and directors, and this and that second. These people are always going to be first and foremost activists. No matter how little the change or whatever, it's always going to be put first. And that's why people online, you saw people on here, Twitter, it's like, that's why I pirate things. Because people are tired of it. But anyway, that's going to do for me. You guys know the drill. I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.